John, thanks for joining us. We've been out in the USA for a few days now. How's the tour going so far?
It's been good because the weather's not been as hot as what it is today. So, no, it's been really good. A lot of new faces, trying to integrate them into the squad. The training's been tough. Obviously, with the sun out today, today's session was a little bit harder, a bit more intense, and it was good. The game was obviously a bit disappointing in terms of result, but a really good challenge for us against a really good team.
You've touched on it there, so just building on the training sessions, from what we see, they're intense and they're hot. How does that differ from back at Bodymore?
Just nice to be in a different setting. I think when a lot of new players arrive, we need this time to integrate them into the squad, what the manager wants. Obviously what the manager wants is different from where they've been. The clubs will play a completely different way, so we want to be on the same wavelength. And this time, these sessions, they're always a bit longer. The detail's so important. So there's obviously some teething problems at the minute. It's very early on, but we've got time over the next couple of weeks to get everyone on the one page and going in the same direction.
And personally for you, you obviously featured at the Euros, and so you've had a shorter break. Does that put you on a different fitness schedule to the rest of the lads?
Aye, some of us are on a slightly different schedule. I think the important thing for all of us who were involved last season and then into the Euros or Copa America was it was a really demanding season. I think it was close to 70 games I played, so physically and mentally I needed the break, I needed the rest, and managed to do that. Obviously now when you're on your break, you sign a couple of players, gives you a little bit of a nudge to go, right, out you get, do a run. So all the boys have come back in good nick, but myself, Yuri, Amat and Ian Matson, we're around a similar kind of timeline, so we're just kind of getting drip fed back into the squad and doing little bits. So hopefully on Wednesday night in New York we'll be on the pitch as well.
And you've already mentioned the new arrivals. A tour like this gives them a great chance to settle in. How are they getting on?
Aye, all good. A few different characters, obviously. Some have been earlier, some have joined us later, but they're all confident, chatting away. Jaden and Ross have obviously been around us before, so they're a little bit more comfortable, but everyone's been good, really keen to get going, and the competition for places in the starting team at West Ham is what everyone's fighting for, and not too much fights, but everyone wants that place, and it's really nice to have that competition.
We had our first tour match on Saturday against the Columbus Crew. You obviously didn't feature yourself, but it was another step towards being ready for the start of the season against West Ham. That's the goal, isn't it? That's
the goal. It was a good test. Obviously the result wasn't what we wanted, of course it wasn't, but they're a team in good form. They won the MLS last season. They were a really good side, but for us it was making sure everyone gets through the game unscathed, no injuries, and thankfully that was the case. So, and on a brighter note, Emmy was back after a year out, so all in all it was a good test for us, and I think on Wednesday we need to be a bit brighter because Leipzig are a very good team. So yeah, it was a good game, and it reminded me of the game against Minnesota a few years ago when people expect you to turn up and roll these teams over, but they're midway through the season. We're at a completely different stage of our preparation, and you could probably tell a little bit, but it's all about getting through those games unscathed.
Last year when we came to America, we played against 3 Premier League teams. There's a much more varied schedule of international opponents this time around. How does that help towards going into a Champions League season?
Well, personally I prefer it because it's a little bit strange playing friendly matches against the English teams over here. I did find that a little bit odd, but it helps. We'll be going into European competition again this season, so we're going to come up against completely different opponents, different styles of play, and I think Columbus the other night proved that it was a good test. Leipzig will be a completely different one as well, and it'll help us get into the season. So we've got some really exciting friendly matches, and hopefully that shows the level of where we're at as a club, and hopefully these friendlies can keep coming over the next few years.
We travel to New York and Chicago next. What are you expecting from the next stage of the trip?
Well, it's quite a quick turnaround, just training and games really, trying to get in the swing of things, try to get a rhythm going. We'll obviously have the flight back on Sunday after the game in Chicago, but it's still a tight turnaround to the Walsall game, so it's full throttle now for us. We've obviously relaxed a wee bit, but you can just feel the excitement and that West Ham game getting a little bit closer, so I'm sure over the next couple of weeks the intensity will start to increase and the boys will start to get excited.
And just finally, we came to the USA last year and Washington DC. It's always good to be here meeting all the Villa fans as well.
It always takes you by surprise how many Villa fans we've got over here, and hopefully with the success we've had over the past couple of seasons, our profile can keep growing. It's obviously a country that soccer or football isn't their first choice, but it is growing, it's getting more popular, and even though you can remain pretty anonymous out in the streets, you do now get the odd Aston Villa fan who'll come up and say hello, so hopefully we can keep growing the profile of the club and the stature of the club, and it's always good to be supported out here.